Welcome to the Financial Advisory Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Anthony Ficara.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Financial Advisory Podcast. It's been too long since the last episode. Thanks for hanging in with us. A lot of cool shit coming. Today's guest, a very good friend of mine, all the way from Las Vegas, flew in this morning. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I know you guys will see this later on, but funny story. We'll get into that later. But please welcome to the podcast, DJ Cook.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
You are welcome. We are pretty much on a full take 2 here of this podcast. we had a little snafu with the, what do you call that? It has to go in the camera. Ace, what is that? It needs to go in the camera for this whole thing to happen? What is that?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not quite sure.
What's the English word for memory card? So if Ace forgets the memory card, it's all good. Him and I just fucked off and drank some tequila. Little Instagram live, which was super fun. So ultimately, though, man, I mean, this whole episode, I just want to keep it loose. I want to get into your story. You got a cool story. One, I know you have a cool story because I've met you and know you, and everyone has a cool story, right? So I just want to kind of get into that. Basically, what's your background? What have you done before, before what you're doing now, and then get into what you're doing now? Because I know kind of what you're into right now, but not fully. And I think better for you to tell that than for me. So, what's your background? I know you're in the military. If you want to start there.
Yeah, I mean,
first off, let's cheers.
Yeah,
by the
cheers,
way.
brother. Yes. Good times. Take 2.
Jake, yeah, take 2. We're on our 3rd or 4th round here. Jake, Telso and tequila is getting a little dry around here, buddy. So use another shipment. Yeah. Telso's the best.
So, working class family, growing up. My dad,
you said born in New York, but lived most of it's in Florida, right?
Yeah, so I was born in Stony Brook, Long Island, New York. I moved out of there when I was 3 months old.
It doesn't even count.
Yeah, it doesn't even count.
I hate New York and I hate New Yorkers.
Dude, the most awkward. The most awkward part to me being born in New York is when I go to fill out my passport, and it's place of birth, and I screw it up, and I put Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Yep.
And it's oh, you lied on an application. I'm like, well, man,
yeah.
How am I supposed to remember that?
Yeah.
No. So, mom and dad met at a very young age. Grandparents owned a Dunkin' Donuts. My dad was actually a baker.
You're Indian?
No. My grandfather was a degenerate gambler.
Oh, so okay. Same thing.
How else are you gonna have the card games in New York without having a Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm being funny, but I'm also being serious. I did not know that American/white people own Dunkin' Donuts. Is that something that was before, maybe back in the day they used to?
Well, I mean, you're talking the 40s and 50s at that point, and Papa at one point, I know he owned 11 or 12 stores.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But then he sold them off as time progressed and stuff like that as he was getting older.
Got it.
He was out of it by the 80s. I mean,
that makes sense.
But also, too, remember Dunkin' Donuts back then wasn't always attached to a gas station.
Sure.
Look at Subways. You look at any of those kind of brands. It's
sort of merging them towards gas stations.
Yeah, it was more of a convenience thing than anything.
Okay. I'm again being a little bit funny, but I also have never been in a Dunkin' Donuts where it was, I guess, white American owned.
Probably my dad's favorite story that he tells is that he actually was a baker.
Okay.
So he had to go in at 2 or 3 in the morning to actually bake the donuts and bake the bagels, and it wasn't on the trucks. It wasn't very streamlined like it is today.
Okay.
So it's a completely different.
How's it work now? They truck them in?
Everything gets trucked in. So everything gets trucked in. If you ever go to a 7-Eleven, this is the prime example I give everybody. Go to a 7-Eleven between 4 and 6 in the morning. You'll see the trucks come in. All the goods are already on the truck. They're already baked. They're already done. Everything's done, and that's the way that it's done now.
Gotcha. Cool. Makes sense.
So my dad and mom got married. They had my sister. They tried for me for years, and then Dad was coming up in the ranks in Taco Bell. He actually worked for Yum Brands. Well, not Yum Brands at the time, but then got a promotion down to Florida. So we moved to this little town called Port St. Lucie, Florida. That was where
I've heard of that.
The St. Lucie Mets train there. That's their claim to fame.
But what's the bigger city around there?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's 30, 45 minutes north of West Palm.
Okay.
So grew up there. Dad got fired from Taco Bell because, Dad, he was a hothead. Then he worked
These things happen. You know what I mean? I feel like in that time frame, in that era.
Oh, yeah, back then.
You're from New York.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You're
gonna go down.
You're in New York. You're making a New York salary in Florida, and then you're having some guy yell at you. It's some redneck guy, and it's like, well, why am I going to listen to this?
Florida man gets a burrito thrown in his face, from a New Yorker. That is headline writes itself.
So, very, very working class for a very long time. My dad had to reset his career after that because after he got fired from Taco Bell, he went to a Pepsi distributor and worked there till basically I left for the military.
Coincidentally, they're owned by the same company now.
They are. They're owned by Yum Brands. Yeah, because Pepsi realized that they could never win the battle against Coke.
Yep.
So what did they do? They bought restaurants
Stores to put their shit in there. Yep, agreed. Yeah.
So then, I feel
like, I'm going to cut you off. This is funny though. I feel like it's like the drunker the store, the more Pepsi it was.
Oh yeah.
Like Taco Bell's Pepsi. Like it's just McDonald's Coke.
Yeah.
Taco Bell fucking Pepsi. Hammer drunk.
Well, think about it. Long John Silver's, KFC, Arby's. Like all those brands. Like
it's like I'm only going there from Hammer drunk.
The brands,
I'm getting Pepsi.
The brands that you'll never go to sober, and you're like, oh god, that's a terrible idea.
White Castle.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think White Castle's Coke though. For some reason, I want to think that
White Castle is Coke.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I know that. I mean, I've been to White Castle a few times here, pal. But I just also never go there sober. I never go to White Castle sober.
No, nobody does. And Harold and Kumar were the last two people.
I have a funny story about that. So, White Castle. I'm with Amber. You met Amber.
Yeah.
Okay. When we were dating early on, dude, less than a year maybe. Okay. She's DD because I made it very clear in the early days that my CDL was worth more than its weight in gold. And if we're going to go out, you have to drive. I'm basically providing for the family with this license.
Right.
Can't risk it. Right.
Because you can only get a .02.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was half, whatever it was, 0.04. So 08. At the time, it was 08 was legal. 04 was CDL.
Okay.
Which is like a smell.
Right. Yeah.
So we go out like, oh, wait, if you want to go out, you got to drive. Cool. We're driving to this concert. We're driving some night out. And we pass up a White Castle. Now we're early on dating, so it's like giving her some of the warning, like, hey, listen, no matter how drunk I get later, do not bring me to White Castle.
Do not let me get left in
This
that
is me
God's
sober.
place.
Sober me trumps drunk me, okay? Well, drunk me apparently was pretty persuasive that night. So we go to White Castle.
Yeah.
And we're eating White Castle, and I'm being passenger princess, handing over the food, and I'm eating, and I go to take a bite of one, and I drop it on the floor. Okay, and I think she doesn't pay attention, so I pick it up, scoop it back in the box, and I give it to her.
Does she know this story?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
So then she takes a bite of it. She goes, "I know you dropped it on the floor. I don't even care. I'm so hungry."
That's awesome.
I was like, "Nice." So yeah, that's probably the last. I mean, the last time I went to White Castle, but I very much remember. Please don't bring me here.
Yeah.
Please don't bring me here. And I always feel like shit after I go there. But in the moment, it always feels good.
In the moment, it's a great idea.
It's like, amazing how much that.
Why haven't we thought of this before?
Yeah, polarizing the opposite of the expectation versus the reality. White Castle is like the spectrum of bad and opposites. Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was
it's okay.
Good. So you're at you end up going to the Navy right before the Navy. He was talking
right? to tell you the story about how I actually joined the military. This is actually something you don't know about because I didn't tell you this part. I wasn't a great kid. I really wasn't. I wasn't focused. I wasn't dumb, but I just hated school. I hated authority. I really did. And, the big thing was that I never really understood it. I really never understood like how to make my way and stuff. I was a dorky kid. Sure. I played video games. I had 2 friends. I freaking didn't even get my first kiss till I was 17. I was that kid, but I was a bad kid. And it got to the point that me and my mother got into a really bad argument about like my future and stuff like that she tried to run me over with a gold Chrysler Sebring convertible.
Nice.
And when I say a gold Chrysler Sebring convertible, imagine me like saying, I'm going to run away from home, right? And then I see this freaking car coming down the road.
Fuck you
and
are.
I'm like, oh, I'll jump up on the fucking lawn. No, this bitch fucking drove it right up the lawn over somebody's.
This is in the 90s, I'm guessing?
Yeah,
so
well, the 2000s.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Was the car like late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, it was a 2001.
I can picture this car, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, the champagne gold Chrysler.
Yeah. Gunning for you.
So my dad says to me, he says, hey, you have to join the military or you have to get out. Once you're 18, you and your mother can't get along.
Can't have mom keep on trying to run you over all the time.
Like,
fuck up my car and my kid. I can't have that. Fucking go to the military.
So
so fucking funny.
So I'm an Eagle Scout, and so part of being an Eagle Scout is.
Oh yeah, how are you an Eagle Scout and a bad kid? Like I feel like that's kind of like usually they're pretty like
I was very good at manipulating things.
Okay,
and,
yeah, right.
and you know,
'Cause if you're an Eagle Scout, it's hard. It's not easy to get to. I mean, I was a Boy Scout for a very brief time, but I recognized that the path to get to Eagle Scout was hard.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it's one in 500,000.
yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna do that. So yeah, I recognize if you're an Eagle Scout, you must have been a really bad but smart bad kid.
So you know, I decided to join the Coast Guard and go through it all. This is back in like 2004, 2005. So I'm 16, 17 years old.
This is peak hatred for the Middle East.
Peak
hatred. The propaganda machine has never been hotter. Besides World War II.
The waiting time to get in the Coast Guard was 2 years.
Yeah, I believe it.
So, you know, you couldn't just like walk in and be like, I want to be in the Coast Guard. You had to like really go through it all. So then I go to MEPS, and MEPS is where you ship out from, right? And on the way to MEPS, I get a speeding ticket. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm getting ready to go to Jersey. I'm, you know, like,
write the ticket. I'm not going to be here to fucking be a court anyway. I'll be in fucking Afghanistan.
So I call my dad and I'm like, hey, Dad, I got a ticket. Just can you pay it or whatever? Just let me know how much it is. I'll pay you back, right? Sure. So right as you swear in, they do this formality. They say, hey, do you have any pending lawsuits? And this includes civil infractions, including speeding tickets. I'm the only asshole in the room that raises my hand. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. I got a speeding ticket. My dad's going to pay it. Go out on the P-way. Go on the P-way. I'm like, what the hell is a P-way? So now they're looking at me like, oh, this is an E3 Eagle Scout. He should know military code. He should know all this stuff.
Yeah.
So me and that guy get into an argument. And then this really cool guy named Jenkins Harris, he was a Navy guy, rolls his chair out and says, well, we'll take you. I've been waiting my whole life to tell that little guy to go fuck himself.
That's awesome.
So that's how I ended up in the Navy.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And I actually called my parents from Great Lakes, Chicago. And I'm like,
I'm very familiar with that.
I'm like, hey guys, by the way, hopefully your tickets are refundable. My graduation now is 10 weeks in Illinois, not in Jersey.
Yeah.
And my parents are like, what? And so that's how I ended up in the Navy. So I did my time in the Navy, did my 4 years. It was probably one of the best in mixed emotions. It was like seeing your mother-in-law drive off a cliff, but in your brand new car.
Insurance, that's fine. You know,
the Navy was very good for me. It gave me the discipline, but it didn't teach me everything, and
probably create some resentment towards authority, right? I get a lot of that. I hear a lot of that from people.
Yeah, it was. Well, and also too, I was one of the unfortunate ones that got separated for perform to serve. I don't know if you know about that. So when Mr. Obama got into office, he did this thing, and when he was trying to collapse the military, when he was trying to make it smaller so they'd spend less money. Well, I got injured, right? And they had this thing called perform to serve. So if you were injured, or if you didn't pass your PRT, or if you didn't promote fast enough, right? They're just like, hey, have a great day. You're done. Like, you're out. Like, you can't re-enlist. There's nothing you could do. You can't change jobs.
Okay.
So, and I found out about
this is their way to shrink the military.
To shrink the military.
Okay.
So I found out about that on a Monday, and I was out on Thursday. And so again, second time in my life, I'm like, holy shit, I don't have a house again. So now I have to drive back to Florida. I was in Washington State at this point. Driving back to Florida.
Washington State to Florida is the furthest you can drive this country.
Oh my God, I know.
God damn.
And I made it in 2.5 days because I was dead fucking broke.
Yeah.
I was
There's food at the house. I'm going. Yeah.
Well, you remember,
I better get there.
You remember back then, like in 2010, when you used to swipe your card at the pump and it only authorized a penny? So this is how broke I was on the way back, right?
Okay.
Because
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It would authorize a penny, but it would actually charge whenever it was done or some shit.
like in 3 or 4 days, right? Yeah. So I had this Chase.
Beat them charges, man. I gotta fucking hurry up. Get the next one.
I had this Chase credit card, and I was racing the pump. I got back in 2.5 days. My dad's like, how in the hell did you get back so fast? I was like, Dad, I didn't have any money. So long story short, to how I got into the business I'm in now is as I was driving down, I went on Craigslist to look for a job. And
Yeah, I have a funny Craigslist Florida story, don't I?
Yes.
Fucking podcast. Sorry. Go
No,
on.
it's okay.
No. I'm not telling a story. I've already told it, but like, just Craigslist, Florida, fucking funny shit.
So I go on Craigslist, and there's an ad that says "Get paid today." That's all it says.
Yeah.
And then that's how I got into merchant services. It was for a company called Merchant Links. Worked for them for 2 years. Did well. Went to another company called Heartland. Was the number one sales guy there for 4 years. When we got bought out by Global, I was actually one of the ones that they fired because I was making too much. Because their comp plan was very aggressive. Like, I would have never went on my own. If Heartland would have never changed hands, like to Global, I would have never went on my own. I'd still be working for Heartland today.
Sure.
Well, then a year later, they call me back and they recruit me back just to get their numbers back up. and then they severance me again, and then that's how I started White House.
Jesus Christ, they got your back, and that's like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up. So tell me about, obviously the Navy story is pretty cool, like getting in and getting fucked, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, now what? So, sounds like W-2 job. You never have really had a proper W-2 job, or did you?
I never have really.
No, it's kind of cool. Because most people do, they hate it, they move on from it, they learn from it. You were able to completely skip it.
I was commission only from day one.
I guess the Army or the Navy's technically W-2. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, it's
not really the same.
It's an extension of high school
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
I bet, yeah.
And like, that's the reason why a lot of veterans have a hard time transitioning back is because you leave your mom's house and then you go somewhere where they tell you what to wear, when to show up, when to eat.
You shoot a bunch of brown people.
Yeah.
Trying to come back to civilization. Like,
Yeah.
oh, now what? I
And
can't shoot brown people. No one knows what the fuck I can do.
Yeah.
It's hard, yeah.
You can't work for the mob.
Right. The adaptation back to real life or normal life is extremely hard for people who are not wired that way, right? So
yeah. And a lot of it is, trial by fire. You got to get thrown into it. You got to get, put into that situation. The thing is that my job didn't transition back to civilian world. So
Sure.
I got into sales and, I did very
So
well.
sales. Now let's talk about sales. When I switched careers and got into financial planning and eventually narrowed it into life insurance, I never thought I was in sales. I never thought I was a salesman. I never sought out to be a salesman. I never believed I was a salesman. The further I got into it, I'm like, I'm very much in sales. Life is sales, but you don't have to be a shitbag car salesman. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but we got to talk about one of our sponsors. Want to give a shout out to a company that's been helping me out, Momentum Commercial Capital. They offer help with business funding from working capital, equipment financing, SBA loans, and investment real estate financing, with options from single-family rentals up to large commercial properties. They also work with syndications to source funding. So if you're in a business or in real estate investing, or even just looking to get into them, check out Momentum Commercial Capital. Ask for Greg Funk and tell him I referred you. Once again, guys, if you are in need of any of these services, be sure to check them out at momentum-commercial-capital.com today. Baseball to be in sales. And in fact, the less of that you are, the more successful you are.
The majority of people in this world are in sales, right? And that's the thing is you know what? You're either selling yourself, you're selling a dream, even this tequila, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Shout out to Jake and tell Soane. Every chance I fucking get.
Great tequila, right?
It is great tequila.
But you're still having to sell the dream. You're still having to sell why that's better, why it's the story, what made it come to this. Why are you going to order this over Casa Azul?
Especially when you have choices.
When you have choices.
You have choices. You got what separates you, right? So
and you're selling all the time. The thing that I think a lot of people get confused about sales is they treat it like it's that used car salesman where they're like, okay, you know what, here's the price.
There's a stigma behind it, right? It's like, oh, you're in sales? Pff, fucking fag. You know?
Yeah, no.
It's like, no, man, it's way different. Or a lot of people get early out of high school or late college, whatever. Young people get into sales that you're selling something that doesn't really need to be sold. And that's where it's like, I don't need a fucking vacuum cleaner. I got to come to my fucking house and sell me a fucking vacuum cleaner.
Right.
Like, I can go to Best Buy, but I don't need that.
Or a set of knives that cost fucking $2,000.
Right.
You know?
So like those people give all of us a bad rap. Because like, yeah, people are going to buy those. And some people maybe they prefer that presentation in your house, but like most people don't.
Yeah.
So the stigma is like, nobody sell me that shit. Like, but when it comes to like what I do or what you do, you absolutely have to sell it and make it make sense and present the options.
And even with the life insurance thing, right? You know, a lot of times when you're selling somebody on that, you're not selling them something bad. You're actually selling them something to help them.
Oh, I agree. This is the one thing I can think of that like when I sell life insurance, they're in a better spot than I am. Like by them getting life insurance, they're in a way better spot than with the money I made on them. And I believe that because it's absolutely true. Like, yes, I make money. I'm not running a charity and I'm making a living.
Right.
But at the same time, like the money I made on that is nowhere near the coverage they bought.
Right.
So if they happen to pass away or they're able to be their own bank and they can do a lot more with what they have than what I'm going to get.
And you could feel good about the fact, okay, you selling that policy, right, to Joe Smith, right, that has a wife and 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
God forbid he gets hit by a fucking bus tomorrow. Yeah. You know what? His family's taken care of. So, yeah, there is a little bit of sales where you have to convince people things.
Yep.
But you're not convincing them things that aren't going to help them.
Agreed. And that's why I've done as well as I've done in a short time of being in sales, even though I didn't think I was being in sales. It's like, I believe it. I have conviction. This is better for you. Let me show you how.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So with you, how do you, with your merchant services stuff, like obviously people have choices, right? So, and not to like, don't sell me to you, but like, what did you realize was your gift in selling this to people? Because was the product was better, or you were better explaining the product?
I was a little bit of a Robin Hood. Okay. So what I specialize in now is high risk merchants. So like kratom, CBD, gun sites, porn sites, anything against the Catholic Church is what I always say.
Hell yeah.
And
that's the best. That's like, my middle name is against the Catholic Church. Right. I fucking love it, dude. That's awesome.
And the thing was, so when I worked for that company, Merchant Links, right, and I'm not going to bash them because there's things that they taught me, right?
Sure.
But there was a lot of things that they did were fucked up. And then Heartland, right? They were save the manatee, save the trees until Global bought them out. And then what they fired me for the things that I did were the same things that they were doing tenfold. And by the way, what I got fired from that company was things that they told me to do.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It wasn't like I thought of these things on my own. Like I'm a dumb kid from Port St. Lucie. Like,
Right.
freaking never thought I'd make that kind of money. So when I got out of Heartland and Card Connect and a couple other companies that I took public, I said, you know what? Screw it. Let's change the way high risk is done. And a lot of people don't even realize that they need a high risk merchant. And there's not many choices because a lot of people don't want to go against the Catholic Church. And that's what I always say is, they're worried about the taboo. They're worried about
sign me up, dude. If you got anything against the Catholic Church on there, dude, I'll buy 2.
Yeah.
What do you got?
So it's so like what I do is I give people the ability to go to a strip club, smoke a cigar, and have weed, and not feel guilty about it, and be able to accept payments.
So tell me that. So that's basically the credit card reader inside those establishments is then tied to you.
Tied to me, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the risk, though, we call it high risk, and to me, it sounds the taboo against the Catholic Church makes more sense than the high risk. Why is it high risk?
So the reason why it's high risk is because there is chargebacks and there is different things like that.
Got it. Some guy gets hammered, said, I didn't authorize this stripper to take $1,000 from my account.
Right.
Me and my wife would never authorize that. Some guy's wife gets pissed off.
Oh, the biggest thing is the wife calling behind.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, let's say you go to the strip club, you run up a $2,500 tab at Sapphires or whatever the name of strip club
3
is.
o'clock in the morning.
You go home to your wife and she's like, "What the hell is this?"
I didn't do that, baby.
Honey, my card's stolen.
Yeah.
And that's
then she calls, and this motherfucker would never do that. And it's like, listen, want the security footage because he was here.
Well, and that's something that I developed.
Yeah, I was like, how do you?
So I did a thing called RDR. It's risk development repercussion.
Okay.
So basically, let's say you're a known person to do chargebacks. My system will actually block it. So if they know, like, let's say you have so it's all bin numbers. Do you know what that is or no? So bin numbers is basically a fancy word for knowing who you are, right? Yeah. So the first 4 numbers on all credit cards are a bin number, right? So once we figure out your profile and like we know that you're a chargeback heavy guy, if you walk into a high risk place, we just won't even let the transaction go through.
Got it.
So you can't run up a tab.
Fucking beat it, nerd. You're gonna charge the shit back anyway.
You're gonna charge back anyways. What are you doing good about that?
I got you.
So that's the thing that I did with high risk.
By deterring that, what if this guy's like, you know what, dude, you're right. I do charge back shit a lot. I've changed my ways. How can I reconcile this? Is there a way? Like, I come with cash? What do you do?
No. At the end of the day, I mean, if somebody were to find my phone number and call me directly, yes, it's
gotcha.
a little. But
gotcha. We'll have that in the link, by the way.
But like telecheck. Do you know what telecheck is?
I feel like I've heard of it.
So telecheck is basically the same thing as what I'm describing, but on a broader scale, right? So if you're known as like a shithead with banks, right, where you're bouncing you're doing a lot of overdraft fees, you're constantly going over your balance.
Being a shithead, right?
Yeah. What happens is once Wells Fargo gets done with you and they say, you know what, screw you, Anthony, we're done with you, right? They put you in the thing called telecheck, right? So telecheck is an internal system that all the banks talk to, including merchant companies, where we say, okay, Anthony's a bad person.
Like, we're Wells Fargo, but Chase, you probably don't want this guy.
You probably don't want him. And the thing is,
Chase is like, you know what? You're right. Fuck him.
And once you get put on telecheck, right? To use an example, like the whole Chase glitch. Did you hear about that?
Kind of going through it right now, yeah.
Okay, so the Chase glitch was basically wire fraud, right? Where people were depositing checks for $50,000, and then Chase was giving them like a $10,000, temporary what they call memo credit.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay, so
that's not what I'm going through, but I know what you're talking about. It's separate. But go ahead.
Okay, so the memo credit thing, right? So what'll happen with that is now that these people have all their checks bounced, right? They're going to go into a system called telecheck, right? If they don't get charged with fraud, right? Now with telecheck, right? They're not going to be able to have an account for the rest of their lives. Like It's almost
You gotta go to fucking
impossible.
Walmart to cash your checks now, or
You got
what?
Green Dot or
Jesus
freaking Cash
Christ.
App or whatever, whatever, freaking.
They're gonna shack up with a fat white girl, and that's what they're gonna use her for.
Yeah, and that's actually been a huge thing now too. Where
I
banks,
saw it. Basically, so what was happening? These guys were getting these checks. It was bullshit. Chase would give you a portion of that check available.
it's called a memo credit.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I've seen that with Chase. They get away from that completely now because I feel like every time I deposit a check, it's like
It's held for a couple days.
it's held for a couple days, but they give me a portion of it.
Right, it's a memo credit. Yeah.
So are they getting away from that, or are there just certain people?
No, so what happened was these guys on TikTok went over.
I saw that.
and they made it like this big thing. So now what'll probably happen is you'll probably have to have at least they'll probably change their wording in their contracts because I mean nobody reads their contract when you sign up for a bank account, right?
Right.
They're just going to change it that you have to be a good standing customer for 6 months or more with no overdraft fees to be able to get memo credits. They'll have to change the wording in their But I mean, realistically, it blows my mind that we're even running into this when the majority of people don't even know how to fill out a check properly, let alone,
Well, just think about this. Like, imagine a generation that forgets how to learn stick shift. Okay, then you have a car that's stick shift. You leave it unlocked. Well, that one dickhead who knows how to drive it, he steals it. That's what happened.
Yeah,
these guys, a generation forgot how to write checks. Some asshole remembered.
Somebody
and all of a
remembered, yeah.
sudden, they weren't prepared for it because it's gotten away from that.
it's gotten so far away
But
from
now
it.
it's gone. That door is closed forever. It'll never happen again.
And with the amount of banking fraud going on right now, with wire fraud and different things like that, I could see it being something of the past of us getting memo credits at all. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like back in the day, like in the 80s, 90s, even in the early 2000s, your checks were held for up to 21 days.
God damn, I don't remember that.
No, but I'm saying, like,
it sucks though. Yeah, I get it.
If it's an out-of-state check, if it's not, if the micker isn't right, there's a lot of different things on that would get checks held where you just won't have access to funds.
Which sucks because the way the world works right now is today.
Yeah, it's all about
right
access.
now.
Yeah.
Yep. So now you get back to a world that's moving that fast, then blocked by a banking system that's outdated, but it has to go back to the outdated way because of the fraud.
Right, because of the fraud,
There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way. Man, it's like with like blockchain and crypto. Like, there's got to be a way it could be instantaneous and protected, and I guess fast enough to be instant, but not so fast where fraud can happen.
So blockchain and crypto were probably one of the best inventions in banking history. The problem is that they didn't kiss the ring. I don't know if you ever watched the show Billions.
I've seen part. Yeah.
Okay, so
Is it The Rock in that one?
No, The Rock's in he's in Ballers.
Ballers. Billions,
Yeah,
whatever.
But there was one of the characters. His name's Bobby Axelrod, right? He was a hedge fund guy, right? And
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the episode where he was like, I want to become my own bank. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then FDIC came back down and said, you'll never have a bank. It's because blockchain and crypto and all those guys thought that they could bypass all these old heads. And guess what, guys? You have to kiss the ring. You have to pay the tolls.
I feel like that's true, but eventually those old heads will die and somehow we'll get there.
1,000%.
Yeah. But right now.
Gotcha,
right.
But I mean, we still have 30 years of it. Because I mean, think about it this way. I'm 36 years old, right? And I'm just now eligible to run for president, which, okay, I've lived a life. Like, we're talking, that's a long time.
Yep.
So now we have all these old people that are still in power, 40, 50, 60, 70 years
Fucking
old.
drinking baby's blood, living forever.
Living forever and screwing everything up.
Yeah. So that's all great stories. So tell me how business right now, what are you doing like day to day? What's your work like? Because you're an entrepreneur. I see you out and about. You have a schedule like mine where you have the ability to say, fuck off, I'm going to be here in this city in this day and still apparently make enough money to survive. So what's your day-to-day like?
My day-to-day is very different. It's not black and white. There'll be days that I work 10 hours straight, 12 hours straight, 14 hours straight. And then there'll be a week and a half that I don't fucking log into my email. It's different. So I have a very small crew. I don't have a lot of employees. I don't believe in a lot of employees. I don't believe in that kind of thing. I make enough to the point where I'm happy. All my employees are happy. Everybody's doing well, So, basically it just kind of goes off of what the market needs. I turned off advertising for my company a year ago, right? And I still get 20 to 30 new clients a month. It's all word of mouth. So it's not like it's not like somebody finds me just by accident. They know somebody else that has a weed store and they want their own merchant account for that.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's a little bit simpler. You know, the greatest invention and the worst invention in the world was this thing.
The iPhone.
You know, because you can operate any business from anywhere in the world. Like when I was in Colombia, you know, I was still doing contracts in there. I was still dealing with customer service. You just got to account for time difference.
Yeah. So you get an account, you set it up. They are able to accept payments. What is your role after that? Are you just mailbox money or that? Or
pretty much mailbox money. Okay. Unless, of course, there's
setting up the account. That's the workload for you.
Yeah, setting up the account and then also making sure like equipment doesn't break or something like that. But even that, I outsource. Okay. You know, I have a call center actually here in Colorado that I sublease with a couple other companies that they just mail it out.
Shout out to Colorado, by the way.
Yeah, Colorado's a great state.
I travel a lot. I mean, you see me on Instagram and shit, and there's very few places I would ever want to consider a home besides Colorado at this point in my life. Florida's creeping up on that list, and so is Arizona. Besides that, though, I mean, it's hard to beat it. But Florida's got some pretty cool spots. I've spent some time there. Arizona in the Scottsdale area. I have a condo there. I fucking love it. But overall, raising a family, quality of life, everyday, day in, day out shit, Colorado's hard to beat. Cool.
I mean, yeah, I definitely can see that. You know, if I was the kind of guy that was going to get married and have kids, I'd live in Colorado. But I live in Las Vegas because I like debauchery.
Exactly. I say, living in Las Vegas, starting a family, maybe not the best, but doable. Doable. I mean, people do. I have friends here that want to move there. You know,
I mean, I've lived out there for 2 years now, and one thing I have noticed is that it's a small town with a gambling problem. Once you leave the Strip, it's not like the glitz and glamour. You know, you can go out and get a steak dinner for $30. You know, it's nothing crazy out there.
Sure.
You know, I think the craziest part is just getting used to the slot machines everywhere. You go into Smith's or a grocery store and you got a slot machine room.
I like playing blackjack. If they had blackjack tables everywhere, I might be fucked. But having slot machines everywhere, I could give a fuck. You know, they don't even register in my mind that they're a thing. They're invisible to me. But if there's a blackjack dealer at every gas station, like, hey, I'll play a few hands. Like, fuck yeah, dude. I'd be hemmed up pretty bad. But that'd be kind of fun though. I think like just imagine everywhere you go, like a laundromat, killing some time and play blackjack at the fucking laundry. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'd probably do it. You know, but yeah, the slot machines, I can play them. I enjoy them to a degree. They are fun when you win. But man, like it's like watching paint dry sometimes. Like, that was $1,000, and it's
so the
fuck, dude. Now what? You know, it sucks.
The only time I'll touch slot machines out there is like if you go to a bar, like let's say like me and you just wanted to walk into a bar. All the little bars there have like little machines on top
in the table, right?
And in the bar top. Yeah. And if you're not gambling, they don't let you sit there. They'll kick you out of the seat.
Okay.
So they'll be like, hey, man, you gotta.
What's up, guys? I'm sure you're enjoying the podcast. It's fucking awesome. I know. Okay. But let's talk about one of my sponsors, Alpine Moving Company. So we all know that moving sucks. Okay. Stop asking your buddies to fucking move you. It's always a problem. We know that. Be an adult. So use Alpine Moving Company. They know how to get the shit done. They offer residential and commercial moving. Also, they will move you anywhere within North America, anywhere in the lower 48, Canada, Mexico. And they're going to hook you up with 10% off. So discount code MOVE24. Make the right move.
I'm gonna move to a table or whatever. So like, I'll throw in like
if that bartender's got some big tits, I want to stay there.
Oh,
I'm gonna gamble a couple bucks.
Yeah,
and be at the table.
And honestly,
you're still there. I'll fucking put $1 in that machine all day, baby.
This is a funny story for you. The other night I went out. Vegas is the only city in the world, and I'm gonna steal this quote from Dana White because I love it.
Dude, I love it. I know where you're going. I'll let you say it. I fucking love it though.
Yeah, yes. It's the only city in the world that you can go out with $200, right? You have the time of your life. You could go out dancing. You can meet the girl of your dreams. You could have a great steak dinner. You can end up at Hakkasan and then still go home with $1,000.
Yep, exactly. You know? Yes.
Yeah, because there was the other night I was at this little bar close to my house, and you know, I think I put in $30, but it just hovered forever with Keno. And I left. I didn't have a bar tab because it caught my bar tab because I was gambling.
Yep. And
I still walked out with like $400, and I'm like, how in the fuck? Like, what this
fuck happened? Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't where I parked my car.
This is not my office. What the fuck? That's awesome. So get into gambling, right? So obviously we met through John Sarasani. Shout out to John.
Yeah.
Fucking
great
awesome
guy.
So met through his events. They're primarily gambling themed, so to speak, right? We've gambled before.
Yeah.
You see me lost too much money in one
if
night.
I'm allowed to gamble with you. You know?
I know. Oh, yeah. That's a fucking great story. Yeah. So we're gambling at MGM, allegedly. And I pull out some money and I start gambling. And I was playing a dollar amount that he wasn't quite comfortable with, which is fine. And that's I look over to the pit boss, who I happen to make friends with over the months or years I've been playing there, and he knows me very well. I'm like, hey, dude, can he play I'm playing the table. I'm covering the limit by a lot. Can he play a lesser amount? Because I want him to play with me. He's like, well, he can't play here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you can't play here, you've either won a lot of money, you've slapped a bartender, or fucked a kid or something.
Yeah.
They want you to play.
No, and
so
I remember my face. I was like, what the fuck did I do?
That's what I'm looking at him like, you got something to tell me, bro? Like,
yeah.
Either you won a lot of fucking money, you hold out on me, or you fucked a kid or something. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? So I look at you, I'm looking at him, I'm like, I'm caught in the middle. And all it was is he thought you were a host.
He thought I was a host.
Because you've been playing and been around us so much, and you looked the part. He thought you were a fucking host. You can't play here. You're a host here. Like, motherfucker, I don't work here.
Well, and also, too, think about it. Like, and when I talked to him about it after the fact, because I did talk to him about it, he said, dude, you look like a host because every time John's in here, every time all the players are in here, what are you doing? You're making sure the cocktail waitresses are coming over, giving drinks. You're making sure that everything's flowing right. Whenever there's a problem, you're the one that goes over and talks to everybody. I'm like we thought you were an independent host. Like, and he's like, he's like, that's the reason why I never give you crap. And like, and then, and there was a funny thing that he said before that. I think you didn't hear it. He's like, it's the hardest working guy in Vegas. He never goes home. He's always at, and I was like, dude, I'm home all the time. What are you talking? But it all made sense. But it was funny though too. I forgot to tell you about this part, but Venetian, right? They took away my status. So I had Noir or whatever the high status is over there. And I've had it for years. I've had it since like 8 years, right?
Fuckers.
And I go into valet my car and I hand them my player's card and they're like, "Oh, your status has been revoked." I had to go into the casino host area and they're like, "Oh, you're registered as a host." And I'm like, who the fuck is telling everybody I'm a host? Like, give me the kickbacks at that point.
Yeah, if I'm a host, motherfucker, give me some money because hosts make money.
Yeah, they make great money.
Yeah, I'm not making any fucking money. Where's my host? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm only losing money here.
Oh, shit, dude. So living in Vegas, 2 years, I feel like 2 years is a good grasp on Vegas, right? You've seen a lot. What are some good like Vegas stories that only people who live in Vegas would believe or understand? Like, 'cause I feel like there's got to be a lot of wild shit that, if you're in Florida, wouldn't really make, like, Florida's got some wild stories too.
Oh, man,
Never mind.
Yeah.
But Michigan, right? Living in Michigan, what's a story that somebody who lives in Michigan would be like, holy fuck, that actually happens in Vegas?
I mean, probably just the amount of dumb shit. Like the guy climbing the spear just recently. He climbed the whole side of the spear and then got to the top. Probably the other one, like the Vegas story is like, without incriminating myself, that's the problem.
Okay, just say, make up an
allegedly, yeah. No, but like, okay, so there's a story that I heard.
Right.
I'm reporting the news, not making it.
Correct.
I'm going to throw
allegedly heard a guy, saw a guy. Yep.
So this girl that I know that works at a casino, right? She's a host, right? And she had a player that was like, like 1.5 million marker, like higher level player, right?
Sure.
She had to call Metro and she had to get a search warrant of a prostitute's vagina because this girl comes into his room, friggin' bangs him, tries to leave, and then tries to steal his watches. As she's trying to get away, right? She starts shoving him up in the prison purse.
Yep.
And
the old prison wallet, yeah.
And they had to hold her, and then they
fuck yeah. God, would you imagine the fucking stank on those watches?
Oh my God, I wouldn't even want them back. Oxidation. Yeah. Oxidation. It's like when you buy it off a cruise and it turns green.
Yeah. Accusations. Yeah. God damn, that poor bastard. Not only did he get had by a hooker, he had to fucking those things back.
And they had to shut down. They had to shut down the room for 3 weeks because they were looking for his pinky ring. That I guess
all the way up there.
I guess he got pissed off and did this, and the ring went somewhere, and it was like worth like something crazy, like $400,000. So they had to comb through the whole entire room. And they had to shut down the room until they found the fucking.
You probably had to pay for it too. Like,
he had to pay the daily rate plus he had to pay the security fee per hour.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but I mean, if you throw a $400,000 ring, you
you want the ring back. Right?
Yeah,
fuck it. That's fucking wild. That's funny. See, shit like that's funny.
Yeah,
and I get like people I think who don't gamble. Some of those stories, how could you lose $100,000 or how could you lose $1 million? Like, they don't get it. But as a gambler, it's all relative, right? If I lose, I'm not gonna say any number, but if I lose a dollar amount, I'm gonna be pissed if I lose $5 or the dollar amount in my head. Okay,
right?
Almost equally pissed. I want to win. I'm playing to win. If you're a multimillionaire, the numbers just shift.
Right.
It's still relative.
Yeah. It's
unless you get over your head, like it's just relative. So like a guy winning $100,000 or a guy losing $100,000 may not affect his life.
Right.
But he wants to win.
Yeah.
Or if a guy, it's $1 million or $2 million. Like you hear about Dana White losing $3 million when he wake up from Rio. I love that story too. By the way, because he tells don't get too comfortable with my $80,000. He's like, bro, you lost $3 million last night. What the fuck? Like, but Dana White, that's like me losing $30,000.
Right.
It pisses me off. I want to win, but it's not changing the fucking.
You're still going to pay for lunch tomorrow.
Right. So like, people don't quite get that. And hopefully, I mean, most people gamble within their means. Some don't, and it gets fucking wild.
No, the majority of people, and this is a dirty secret I've learned about Vegas since I lived there. 95% of the people gamble with outside of their means.
That many?
Yeah. So if you ever really want to be entertained, call the 1-800-GAMBLER line.
Oh fuck! I should do that. Yeah.
Actually, this is going to be a good call out.
Get my speakerphone.
There was one time me and my buddy were sitting at a bar, right? And I was like, and he was like kind of getting on my case about gambling and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, bro, I was like, this is my entertainment. I was like, you like strippers, I like gambling. Like, you
like strippers, I like gambling and strippers.
Right, yeah. But like this guy will go in there and spend, $10,000 in a night, but then cringes when he sees me lose $1,500. And I'm like,
yep.
There's no barometer here, man.
Yeah.
We called the 1-800-GAMBLER line, right? And when you call in, it's almost like you're bothering them, right? And when you say like, hey, I think I have a problem, they're like, well, if you don't know if you have a problem, we can't help you, and they hang up on you.
God damn.
Swear to God.
Test it out.
You gotta do it. That'd be awesome.
I'll pull up a number right.
Yeah, no, seriously.
We should put on a speakerphone. I don't know what the number is. Yeah, it'd be cool. That'd be fucking fun. So anyhow, this gambling hotline, like, what do they even tell you? Hey, dude, don't gamble. Like, what the fuck do you talk to somebody about?
It's supposed to be a support line. So like the thing about like any support line, it was based off like Alcoholics Anonymous. And the reason why Alcoholics Anonymous was is so successful, I want to say, right? I mean, there's obviously bad stories and stuff like that. Was because everybody was fucking anonymous. The problem with gambling is you can't be anonymous. You go in, okay, so you go into a casino, right? And this is something you can play for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You cannot gamble anonymously in any casino.
That's true.
The second you put down, I think it depends on the casino, but we'll say $2,500, right? They require you to get a player's card, and then if you say no, I don't want it, then they say, well, we're not taking your action.
Well, I saw a sign at the Hard Rock that said anybody who wishes not to be rated will only be allowed to play
for a certain amount,
1/10 of the table minimum, or whatever the fuck. It's a minimal amount, like minimal. You can't play shit.
Right? Yeah. If it's $1,000 table, you can play like $50 or something like that.
So they definitely rate you for sure. Now slot machines, I'm not sure what they do there. If they get away with that on slots.
Well, remember, slots is also a game of chance.
Right.
So blackjack, poker, and all those other games, right, are considered a game of skill. Okay. So there's different laws that go into those games.
That makes sense. Okay.
Like Molly's Game. Remember that movie, Molly's Game? There was a movie about an underground poker ring out of like Chicago and out of New York City, right? The reason why they were able to do it for so long was because she never took a rake, right? It was considered a game of chance, right? So you playing blackjack, right? Okay, you get a 12, dealer showing a 10. You know you have to hit, right? That is a game of skill. You know you have to do that.
There's skill involved with chance.
There's skill involved with chance, but with a slot machine, there's nothing you could do. There's literally a computer chip that says after X amount of spins, this machine wins. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Got it.
You're like, pull the lever. No, that doesn't matter. It's all the same. So, there's different rules on that. So that's the reason why also too, if you win over $1,200 on a game of chance,
I fucking hate that rule.
Yeah. So you know why
they're changing that soon, right?
It's going up to $5,600.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why they do that is because since it's a game of chance, they have to give you time to cool off before gambling more. When you're sitting at a table, right? Again, it's a game of skill. You should know your skill. You should know your chip count. You should know the different things. So you don't need that cool off time.
I got you. Okay. Good point.
Like even
I was talking to a buddy of mine who gambles also, and we were talking about different strategy. And one thing he liked about the way I play is when I do lose whatever I brought to the table, I don't bring the rest of that money with me. If I have let's just use I'll use round numbers that aren't relevant to me, but so nobody can. If I bring 10 grand to the casino, okay, I'm only going to gamble probably 2 grand at a time.
Right.
Okay. So if I lose 2 grand, the other 8's in the room.
Right.
I require myself take that time, cool off, Don't punch anybody. Go to the room, grab the shit, all the way back. You walk it off, right? I do really well that way because a lot of people will have that 10 grand at the table. You lose 2, bam, go to 4 like it's nothing. It's like if you're on a bad run, dude, you might take the cool off, cool your jets a little bit. I mean, so I think that that's been helpful for me because I've actually lost substantial amount of money, had those cool off periods, gone back and won a lot more back. I think it's like it's.
And think
weird.
about how many times you walk back to the room with every intention of grabbing another $2,000
And just going to sleep.
and you're like, nah, fuck it. It's not my cards.
Yep, exactly.
You know,
and that's why I do it because I give myself the chance to say, fuck it, I'm going to bed.
Why do you think that's the hardest comp in Vegas to get now? Is rooms.
Really?
It's one of the hardest comps. So when you get a player's card, right, you automatically get like a equivalent to a meal for 2, right?
Yep.
But then to even get a room comped in Las Vegas now, it's very hard. It's not as easy as it used to be.
I mean, I do.
They give you discounts.
I played a substantial level. I've surpassed. I'm trying to brag.
No.
But I guess I blew past that feeling out period. I get whatever the fuck I want for rooms now. My host takes care of me. But I did not know that. So for a newer player, at a lower level, I didn't realize it was harder to get rooms.
So I'll give you an example, right?
But it makes sense if they're trying to keep people out of the rooms in the casino.
They want you on the floor. They want because if you look at any casino, you know, everything's rounded. It's a very round design. Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale was the one that started the center bar. That's the reason why everything goes in a circle. If you notice, all the casinos have started doing that too. So it makes it a very easy thing. So when you go to walk it off, you're just walking in a circle. You're like, oh, okay, fuck it. I took my lap, right? Well, now if you have to go to a room, right, now you have to take a right or a left down a hallway. Now you have to go up an elevator. Now you have to take another right or left to get to your room. Now you have to go into the room. You have to open a door.
It's a hassle. Getting to a room in a hotel that size is time consuming.
It's very time consuming.
It's like when you kind of forget, like, say you're going to meet somebody somewhere on off the strip. I meet you at 4:30, right? GPS says half an hour. You better leave your room an extra half an hour early.
Absolutely.
To get to fucking valet and all that. It's like a long ass process.
Everything.
So when you're meeting people in the strip, like, you know, every casino is a small city, right? So if you're meeting a buddy at a you've met me before at MGM, whatever, it's like, yeah, I'll be there at whatever time. You have to plan extra time to get there too. It's such a
You have to plan extra time. You also have to you know like when I met you at MGM that night, you know, for some reason they decided that they didn't want to have Ubers and valet that night.
That's such a weird. I remember that too. You told me.
So then I had to go up to the parking garage, and then I had to walk through the parking garage, through the fucking lobby, through this, through that, and I'm like,
I'd have gone home and called me and said, "Fuck you, dude. They took away valet tonight."
no, listen, I'm used to it now, but you know, you gotta account for a little bit more. Like if I'm going to I'll do like a lot of like rock shows and stuff like that over at like Brooklyn Bowl or House of Blues and stuff.
Okay. Yep.
And I plan for an extra.
House of Blues is in what casino? Don't tell me yet. I believe it's an MGM property. Is it Mandalay Bay?
Yep.
Fucking nailed it. First try live.
So
Gambler Hotline.
Gambler Hotline. Gambler Hotline. D-Gen.
1-800-GAMBLER.
God,
that's funny.
Screen?
So it's 188.
God damn it. I don't want to call her and tell me I have a problem. Please diagnose me.
Well,
yes, sir. The alarms are going off. We're sending someone your way right now.
Well, the only thing I will tell you, and this is something that I found out because of my ex-fiance, that fucking bitch, Tiffany.
Allegedly. Allegedly, Tiffany.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
She.
I'm going to get sued on my own show.
When I didn't say her last name. So when we broke up, she called the Gambler Hotline and she put me on the no gamble list. So I had to get myself off it.
Damn.
Did you know you can 86 yourself from properties?
No.
You can call. So you call.
Don't tell anybody this. My wife's gonna fucking call me and fucking just
right,
edit that part out.
Yeah, edit that part out. No, you can actually call.
Timestamp that, please. Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. No, you can 86 yourself from properties.
What can it be? Can I do that to you as a prank?
So you have to show. What is it?
Photographic evidence.
Not even photographic evidence, but it has to be not even cohabitation. It has to be for a real responsibility for my better health and better well-being, right? So, like if you call in, like when we'll just call her T. When T called in, right? They banned me for 30 days, right?
At any resort, any casino in the country, or
anywhere that had gambling within the United States.
So how do they know that? How do they have the ability to blast out to every casino?
Well, all of them talk. Like, okay, so prime example, when you went to Hard Rock, right? Fort Lauderdale, when you got comp nights, right? You haven't gambled there in years.
Right.
They all talk. They all know what your status is at XYZ Hotel. And
not only have I never gambled there in years, I've never gambled there.
You've never gambled?
Been there. So yeah, I think I played one night, I think the way it went down, and you're not wrong. I think for my scenario was I gambled one night, got a host, came back for 2 nights, and they comped me those 2 nights based on my first night's play.
Oh, okay. So your first night play.
I didn't have to stay the first night. If I had to stay the first night, I would have probably like, listen, fuckface, like here's my status, right? But like I didn't have to do that.
Right.
I was able to let my own play
kind of speak for itself, yeah. And they probably looked it up.
But like Fountain Blue, they status matched me. They status matched me on my word. I showed them my card, which is you can fake that, but not really. So they didn't really take me on my word, but they took it as a hunch. Like, oh, we'll bet on this guy, fine. And I told them I got a Skyloft, not as a brag or as a flex. It was just like in conversation, but I brought up nonchalantly about Skyloft. I said, well, I'm a MGM, I got a Skyloft. Like, what do you guys have here? What's up, guys? I know you're enjoying the podcast, but I want to pause this. I want to bring some attention to my sponsors, Telson Tequila. I want to go over a few cool little facts with these guys. So they are from Las Vegas, and there's thousands of tequilas in the world. Telson is one out of only 40 tequila brands that owns their own distillery. So it's super unique. It's a big flex, right? It's really fucking cool. So based out of Las Vegas, super rad. Check them out. Use our discount code FINAD20, TelsonTequila.com. Comparable to that. Because, well, based on your status and you know what the fucking Skyloft is, like, we'll give you this room.
Yeah.
So some places will status match based on that, which was cool. And then Resorts World, I'll never fucking go in Resorts World till I die.
Why? What
especially
happened?
in Las Vegas. Fuck you, Resorts World. I had a tournament there. So I'll tell the story. And my host, old hag, you know, I never won there. I played a little bit there. I played enough there to be invited to this tournament. And I didn't like playing there. I didn't get a good vibe there. I had been there several times, played a few of those times, never enjoyed playing there.
Yeah.
It's not my vibe, right? And as a gambler, it's vibe, right? You got to feel it, right? I didn't like it, okay? I hung out there with John, had a good time with John, had some other events there. I had a good time there, but gambling, never liked it there.
Yeah.
And then the fucking, what's that bald fucking comedian Jew roaster? Jeff Ross. He snubbed me for a photo in the hallway, and I'm like, fuck this place. Fuck you, Jeff, and fuck this place. So, Jeff Ross, if you see this, fuck you. That's why I don't ever go to Resorts World. Anyhow, I never wanted to go back. They invited me to this fucking blackjack tournament. It's blackjack, roulette, and baccarat. Basically, like a whole shot for everyone. You get 12 of your best hands. That's it, right? So I played it, lose. Didn't play much more. I leave. She calls me. Hey, I got to charge you for this room and the food. Which on the way in was, I'll comp you the room, comp you food, comp valet, because I drove there from Scottsdale.
I remember that.
And they wanted to charge me for all of it based on I didn't play that trip. And I'm like, listen, you fucking told me the comps and the invite was based on previous play. If I went above $200, which I asked very clearly, that would be based on my play. Well aware of that. I'm happy to understand that rule. I know how it works. I was invited based on previous play. My comps are based on previous play. That's what I expect. I didn't play enough. I went over to fucking Fountain Blue instead. They comped me. They gave me a room. They gave me the status match. And then...
Well, that's why.
Hold on. They didn't know this, though.
Oh, they didn't know.
They pissed me off.
Oh, okay.
Then I went. Then I asked, before that whole the whole fucking debauchery went down, I asked Resorts World to status match me, as I just learned about this whole status matching thing, and they refused at first. Then I had to fucking get special permission from the host. Host threw a fit. Blah, 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 blah. I guess I'll do it this one time. I'm like, fuck you. Like, everyone else is like dying to have me play. Like, fuck this place. So that combined, and I lost, and like, fuck this place. I'll never go back again.
Well, and also too, just so you know,
I like Hilton, by the way. I like Hilton if you guys want to sponsor the show, but Resorts World can go fuck themselves.
Well, Resorts World is in a lawsuit with Fountain Blue.
Really?
So, yeah. So because basically Fountain Blue is stealing their employees. So I was like, well, that's why.
That would piss them off. But they didn't know I did that.
They didn't know you went to Fountain
Blue. No, I only went there after, I'll tell you this, full disclosure, I intended to go to Fountain Blue to get status match and just to check the place out.
Yeah. Okay. It's beautiful property.
Right. Resorts World pissed me off. So I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to stay over here instead. And I played over there instead. So, yeah, just how not to treat a gambling customer.
Yeah.
Resorts World.
Well, and it's like, especially a gambler, and especially at levels like that, once you piss you off once, you don't go back.
There's so many casinos to go to.
I
also love MGM.
Right.
I don't want to go anywhere else. I love MGM. I love my host there, but there's enough of the strip that I want to at least check it out. You know? I want to check out Fontainebleau. It's brand new. I like brand new, nice, shiny shit. I want to check it out.
Yeah.
Resorts World was an invite to a thing, whatever. But
Resorts World reminds me of a cafeteria with gambling. Like it's so bright in there.
Yeah,
it's like,
it very much like the high limit room is big, fucking bright, and it's just like the chips feel weird. It's just not a cool vibe.
Yeah, no, Fontainebleau is amazing though.
Mm-hmm. And in Fontainebleau and high limit blackjack, you can do double deck, surrender. Don't hit on. They stay on soft 17s. All the high limit rules on their double deck game.
Wow.
In Fontainebleau.
Yeah, because normally they require a 6 deck for that.
Yep. So they usually on double deck you give up surrender and you give up stay on soft 17.
Right.
They have both of those in their double deck game.
Of all the places you gambled, which is the best?
Oh my God.
Same goes for you.
I've made the biggest comeback of my life here in Monarch. That'll go down in history. I don't want to use the numbers because it's too.
That's at Blackhawk, right?
Up here in Blackhawk, yeah.
Yeah.
It's too. You saw the pictures in the group text.
Yeah.
It's too personal the amount of money that I won and lost. But I could tell you I was all the way down from being all the way up, and then I went all the way back up beyond there. That was amazing. That was a hell of a run. The people that worked there that night will never forget that. It was
5
crazy.
figures? 6 figures?
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Okay.
That was my favorite single night of gambling. Overall, my favorite place to gamble, though, is the MGM Mansions. It's just got a weird vibe. I love telling this about MGM, and you've been there. You've been there with me. MGM is very, I like to use John's word, Gen Poppy. The overall hotel of MGM is very Gen Pop. But MGM has elite levels to their building and their casino that no other casino has, whether it's the mansions themselves, the mansion high limit room, the Skyloft, the terrace suite where we're going to be for the party. Like, they've got some really high-end shit that even Aria doesn't have. But they have such low-end shit, too. It's almost like Mercedes.
Yeah.
Like, Mercedes has your entry-level car that's a C300 that's an okay car.
CLA.
They also, CLA. They have like lower than, Mercedes has entry-level cars, and they've got supercars, right? Very few other brands have that range. That's MGM. But I do like the MGM mansions. The rest of MGM I could probably give up. But I like the suites at MGM, and I like the mansions at MGM. Otherwise, Aria's cool. But even their high-limit rooms, like, it's cool, but not as cool. For some reason, Mansions is cooler. The Talon Club at Cosmo, super cool. Exclusive. And their high-limit room's kind of cool, too. And the scenery at Cosmo, holy fuck, every bitch in there is fucking a 10. It's insane. I'm going to use the word bitch for women, but it's noticeably different at Cosmo.
Oh, yeah.
Than any other casino in the fucking strip.
Well,
That's cool at Cosmo. I enjoy. I've had a pretty good run at Cosmo. There's a casino Talking Stick in Arizona that's pretty cool too. I've done really well there. It's kind of like what I like about the one in Arizona is I'm the big fish in a small pond. Like the level I play there is average at MGM. At Talking Stick, it's like holy fuck, call security. We walk out to your car. It's wild, right?
Yeah,
that's a cool feeling. They're all. I mean. I guess hopefully I answered your question, but that's my favorites, I guess. What about you? Wait, what do you like?
So probably my favorite. You got to remember, man, I'm a dumb redneck with money.
Yeah. I like that.
So I like Fremont Street. I like going to
I want to go there. Yeah, we should go.
I like going to the D. I like going to shit like that because like I like playing craps on Fremont basically. And the D does have a high limit area which never gets touched. It's like just above. Like it's like you take a step up. It's like, oh, thank God we have a step ladder.
Right.
But you know, it's more of that fun Vegas atmosphere. Yeah,
just grunge.
And then you're walking down the street, you see the freaking people with the King Kong costumes on, and then you see the showgirls. You got the zip lines going over your head. You know, like even
I should spend a night down there. Next time I go there, we should do that.
Remember when John talked about like the reset, like the Vegas reset when he was all this is a couple months ago, and it was right after that event with the room church, that bullshit.
Yeah, fucking wild.
So
night. Yeah.
he's like all pissed off and shit. And I hope he doesn't get mad at me for telling the story. It's not a bad story, but I was like, John, let's go to Fremont, right? And just that reset of just to be in the position that you're at and where I'm at, or where anybody's at. You know, it's just good to see the wholesome fun of they do live music on the street. They do like all that kind of stuff, and it's like fuck, man. Like, and then if you get bored, you can go over to Hogs and Heifers, where they originally based Coyote Ugly off of. It's
Okay.
actually right there.
Okay.
And that's probably one of my favorite places. Now, my favorite place to play high limit is in Colombia.
Jesus Christ.
So this is a good story for you.
Let's hear the story. Yeah.
Yeah, so
allegedly, people. Allegedly. Allegedly, there may or may not have been some drugs involved. Allegedly.
So I go to Colombia and I go to visit one of my buddies from the Navy. He lives down there now, and he's he's like, oh, okay, like, let's go over to this place. We're gonna go for dinner or whatever. And it was in a casino, right? And then I was like, hey, let's play a couple hands, right? So I go up to the first table and I'm looking at, and everything's in peso. So I'm like trying to do like fucking calculations in my head. And I'm like, how much is this table? And I'm like, is this a $3 blackjack table? and I'm like, okay, well, where's the high limit room? So we go into the high limit room, right? And I like pull out $1,000. I'm even going to say numbers just to make you realize of how much high limit is down there, right? So I go to pull out $1,000. They don't have ATMs, by the way. That's the other weird part. So you have to go to the cage, right? Okay. So I go up to the cage and I'm like, hey, let me get $1,500, right? This girl looks at me like I just asked for the Hope Diamond, right? It freaking have to have the casino host come out, the boss, all this other stuff. He's like, yeah, we're not allowed to do that much. We could do 900 for now, 900 US. And then if you need more later, we could do more later.
God damn.
They opened me up my own private table. They're like, oh, what are you drinking? I'm like, oh, I'm drinking Tito's and ginger ale. They brought me out a bottle of Tito's to put at the fucking table. Freaking a whole craft of ginger ale, right? And I'm having a great time. And I'm like putting chips out, and I'm like, oh, this is 100,000 pesos. That's like $20, right? And then I put out like a stack, and it was probably $250, right? Nothing crazy. I was winning a little bit.
Sure.
And I was doing progressive, right? They're like, oh, we can't let you gamble that much. Their max at their high limit was $100. It was the most fun I ever had. I won okay, so I bought in for 900. I walked out with 2,200 American.
You broke their fucking bank.
Oh, dude, I broke dude, and like I felt
they can't give you $900.
Dude, I felt so bad
Yeah.
because they didn't have a money counter. So the girl that was counting out
oh God,
she's counting
story,
out.
I couldn't tell the story. That's same story.
And she's having to count it out. I think I put a picture on my Instagram. I don't know if you remember seeing it, but like once I got back to my buddy's condo and I took a picture, like the stack of money was like this tall, but it was only like $2,200, and I'm like, oh, you got to get cold cuts on the way home after raking the casino.
Fuck, yeah, we should go to Colombia for the gambling trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fun it's
the
fun
gambling.
I know a lot of people down there now.
All we can do in Colombia is gamble, so we should go to a casino in Colombia. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. What before we wrap this up, man, anything else you wanted to say or anything else you wanted to get in? This has been pretty fun.
No, man. I'm excited for your event. I'm excited for everything you're doing. It's a very very interesting. Big shout out to John for putting like-minded people together. I know that we're based around gambling, but I think the thing that some of us forget sometimes is the amount of relationships that we build. Not only in business, but also personally, and
yeah, for sure. And I want to, and I've already talked to John about my event and kind of got his blessing. And that's a huge tip of the cap to what he's doing. And the reason I say that is because for 2 years, I would seek out these networking events, right? I would seek them out, and most of them suck balls. Mm-hmm. They're fucking terrible to be at. You got to, everyone there is full of shit. No one there actually has any fucking money. They act like it's like, all bullshit.
What is the Chamber of Commerce?
I have never have I ever, will I ever be part of no Chamber of fucking Commerce ever in my life. Fucking forever. Yeah. But yeah, if I didn't have things like what John was doing, I'd be stuck fucking around in those events, right? Mm-hmm. So, long-winded story here is like, John made it that not all events are created equal, and not all events have to suck balls.
Right.
Okay, cool. Now I'm in. Now I can network. Now I can make this thing work. And I found what John was doing to be very beneficial. I saw the vibe, and I don't think he quite got it, because there's a point where he kind of wasn't sure if he could keep going doing this. I remember I pretty much bullied him at one of his events, like, you better keep fucking doing this thing. This thing is working great. You're onto something big. Don't give up. This is awesome. And I remember telling him that personally, and one of the videos I'm in saying the same shit, right? And it was a Chicago event back in May, and it's like, I don't think he quite understood, maybe he does, hopefully he does now, but how good his shit's going. Mm. And I wanted just to add on to it, man, because like his event, his circle is what his deal is, but there's different branches or different, like a Venn diagram of overlapping that I can do that won't fuck with what he's doing, but he's already made all of his money, right? I'm making money. There's a different vibe, or different people will be attracted to what I'm doing versus what he's done, right? Because he's kind of almost, to some people, maybe even like Ace's age group, he may be unattainable, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm attainable. So I think there's that overlap that I can bridge that gap of what people can see as, wishful thinking to here's a blueprint to what he did. Even though I can map out the blueprint of what John did, younger people may not be able to draw that conclusion yet, right? So I think I'm a stepping stone in between them, even though there's not much big age gap, but there's a lot of people that I can bring in too that will love what this is all about. So I think I look at this as like John was like, the Black Sabbath of this, and I'm the Slayer version of this. Like this next generation, all the inspiration came from Black Sabbath, but Slayer did their own thing. Metallica did their own thing. They took it from Judas Priest and Black Sabbath, and they just made Master of Puppets and Rain and Blood. So it's just different, but tribute too. So that's the tip of the cap to John.
Yeah, and I agree 100%.
And I think that people that like John will like me. Not everybody, for sure, and vice versa, right? People may not like me, but for the most part, we all get along.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking cool. We have a pretty cool core group of people. John's this giant 6'5" filter.
Yeah.
He's filtering out anybody that ain't gonna fuck with me anyway. So like, if you can get through John's shit, you're gonna get through my shit, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. So I think, I truly believe I don't think John understands how big what he's doing is. And I'm glad that, because he's gonna keep going. And I'm pumped. And he got his Instagram back, his page back now. He's going on all cylinders. He grew that one page. Remember on the cruise he was down? Mm-hmm. He started that. I got on that page at like 3,000 people. Mm-hmm. When he got his page back, he's like 35,000 people.
Yeah, 35.
And fucking in 4 weeks. I was like, dude, you can't. I would almost rather seen him take that page to the fucking moon. That'd have been so cool. That'd have been so fucking cool to see him do that, because he's like, he just was doing the same shit. Now I texted him the other day. I think it was yesterday. He's been posting the dogs on there, his daughter's dogs. In there. I'm like, dude, I love the dog content. I think it's fucking brilliant. It's like this soft little side of John that, sprinkle it in, right? Like not all videos, but like whenever he does those dog videos, they're fucking hilarious. I think it's great.
Well, yeah, look at Dave Portnoy, when he got Miss Peaches.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest thing that made him a lot bigger again.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, man, this is awesome. I want to thank everyone for bearing with me. We've been a little bit slow lately. Thanks for tuning in. I've been getting a lot of messages. Hey, where the fuck are we at? Blah, blah. We're back. We ain't going anywhere. DJ, thanks for coming in. Let's cheers one more time.
Cheers, bro. Good times.
Cheers. Cheers for coming in,
Cheers,
Ace.
Cheers. Thanks for showing up with the cards.
Thanks for bringing up the memory cards, Ace.
Most definitely.
At least you could do.